So you've made a mistake and you're feeling super duper bad about it. Well, I'm here to remind you that making mistakes is totally normal. And we can actually use the act of penance taken out of Catholicism and transform it in a way that we can use it when we have made mistakes so that we can move forward, progress, and not make the same mistake again. Now, penance is a practice performed by many religions, primarily Christianity, but specifically Catholicism. Now, penance is basically one of the 7 sacraments, and it involves confessing your sins to a priest, gaining absolution, and then basically doing your penance, which could be fasting, prayer, or acts of service. So if you've made a mistake and you're here with me today, what it basically means is that you're feeling really, really bad about the mistake you've made. And I'm here to tell you that that's a good thing. There is nothing wrong with you feeling bad about the mistake that you've made. That is your higher self. That is you being in dissonance with you, because you know intrinsically that was not the right thing to do. And that's a good thing that you feel bad. If you didn't feel bad, that would be concerning. But you do, so you're here. So that's good. So pat yourself on the back for that. You feeling bad means it's impressed itself upon your emotional body enough for you to say to yourself, I don't want to make this mistake again, or I really need to make amends for this. And this is where we can use the Catholic penance as a way to assist ourselves. So one of the first steps that you can actually go through is express it. Now, you don't have to express it with a priest, but you can express it with yourself. You can express it with God if you believe in God. You can express it to a trusted friend, or you can express it to the party that may have been wronged in this situation. When you're expressing things to yourself, what it actually sometimes means is that you even know that you've crossed a boundary with yourself, and you are disappointed with you for crossing that boundary. So that's where the self-expression with you comes in. Also, the introspection. You need to look into why you did it. What happened at the time? What preceded it? What was the fallout? How many people were hurt by the situation? And how you would like to behave going forward. This kind of helps you when it comes to mapping out what you can do differently in the future. When you're expressing with a friend, the beauty of it, especially if they're a trusted friend and you know they have your best interest at heart, is that they'll actually end up telling you that it's okay and reminding you that this is information. This is information for you to use for your benefit. You've made this mistake. Some mistakes are huge, but even those mistakes, you can still make amends as much as you possibly can. So, expressing the mistake that you've made to the wronged party. Now, this is where the way that you go about apologizing is really important. And I know that apologizing can be really, really difficult, but it's actually a sign of emotional maturity when you can apologize to somebody for something that you've done, even something that you don't think that they've realized, because you know within yourself that you did something that you shouldn't have done. When you express a mistake to another person, it kind of helps to dissolve its power within you. And by doing so, you make yourself vulnerable. And that means you kind of help your ego to step down a little bit. So expressing a mistake to another person that's been wronged, one of the best ways to go about it is just actually genuinely, sincerely, from your heart, say that you're really, really sorry and make no excuses. When you make an excuse, you kind of dilute the apology in that moment. It doesn't mean that you don't think about why you did it for yourself, and it doesn't mean you can't express to the same person why you did it later on. But in the first instance, just saying that you're really sorry and meaning that and having no excuses about it, it's going to be really, really powerful. So also when you go through the process of expressing, as I said, it's like it really loses its grip on you. Have you ever noticed that in horror movies, when the demon has some serious, it's possessed the person and they're under it, they are in it, in fact, like the soul isn't there anymore, right? As soon as the priest finds out the demon's name, it loses its power. Consider it in the same way. As soon as you express what it is that you've done and you realize you've taken responsibility for it, it can lose its power over you and you can gain power over it. Now consider why you did it, what led up to it, and how you can make it better in the future. This is going to be really important because you don't want to keep repeating the same mistake. And sometimes what you actually have to go through is a period of discipline, especially if it's something that you've done over and over again already. It's an indication, it's information. It's just telling you this is an area that you haven't quite worked out yet. And as a human, you are always going to have something to work out. It is natural. So once you start really looking and having the period of introspection where you're really having a good look at yourself and you're not making any excuses, you're not trying to come up with reasons why, but you're just being super, super duper honest, then it's going to be really helpful for you to actually reach that phase of self-compassion and making amends. Now, making amends is going to be, I wouldn't even call it the final, because actually the final is compassion for yourself. But the act of amends, because it's not just that you've said sorry. You haven't just paid lip service. You are actually going to incorporate some different behaviors into your life so that you don't make the same mistake again. You've actually discussed it with yourself or with the other person that's been wronged or with a trusted friend. You've gone through some of the reasons, some of the things that led up to it for yourself so that you understand yourself a little bit better. Maybe you've even sought some help and gone to see a therapist about it because it might be something that has been prevalent in your life for a long time and you realize you can't do it alone, because sometimes that's the case and you keep making the same mistake over and over again. So you might need somebody else to help you. But when you go through the process of making amends, it means that now you are prepared to do the work. Now you're prepared to do the acts of service. Now you're prepared to be generous with your spirit and be charitable. Now you have to fast, which could be disciplining yourself from whatever it is that you were doing. Only you're going to know, and you have to take what I'm saying and fit it into your own life because you know what mistake you've made. But if you decide to do this properly and you really make amends, then you take it to heart. And what you're doing is you're setting up something different within your body. It's going to be cognitive and it's going to be emotional. And by doing that, you can reach a state of resonance with this mistake. You can impress it upon yourself enough for you to know that you don't want to repeat it again. And that's what it's going to take if it's something that you've done over and over again. Once you've actually gone about the process of making amends and you've stuck to it and you've been disciplined and you've been really serious about it, actually, because you should be if you've made a mistake and you don't want to repeat it again, and it was a big enough mistake for it to really affect other people and affect yourself and how you feel about you, because that's really important. If it was big enough for it to do that, you making amends, definitely. But now we lean into self-compassion. And we remind ourselves again that we're human beings. And we remind ourselves again that shit does happen. Yet, we remind ourselves that it happens. We're human beings. We have this animal brain going on, and we have this higher level of consciousness going on as well. And as much as we think that we've evolved, it's actually really small. And the more knowledge that you gain is the more that you realize you don't know anything at all. That's in my experience anyway. I've definitely seen that with myself. The more that I think, oh yeah, I've got this down pat, is the more I realize you actually don't know anything. So remember that you're a human being. It's okay to make mistakes. We do it all the time. If it's a mistake that you keep making, you need to look into it a little bit deeper. You might need to get some help on this particular mistake. You might need to get some therapy. And you have to consider the fallout when it comes to your self-esteem, your self-respect, the confidence that you have for yourself, whether you trust yourself enough, and how that affects the people around you, because you are going to affect the people around you. As I said, confess, speak it out, release it from your system. Be honest, be sincere, make no excuses for yourself. Have a look into yourself as to why you may have done it and how you would actually like to be in the future and what you can do to avoid it the next time. And then how you can make amends. How are you going to make it better? If you've violated somebody else's boundaries, how can you help to build that trust with that person again, and that trust for yourself if you violated your own value system. What can you do in the future? Feeling bad about something is not a bad thing when you've made a mistake. Feeling bad is a good thing. So again, if you're here watching this, I'm glad. And then forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. It's okay. You're a human. You're going to make other mistakes. You're going to do other dumb stuff. You are. But if you go through this process and you incorporate it into your life and you come up with something for yourself that's similar to this, doesn't have to be exactly the same, you're going to find that you are much more in tune with yourself. You're more aware of yourself. You're bringing the subconscious to the conscious level. You're able to look at yourself realistically, honestly, kindly as well. And hopefully become a better version of yourself. So, that's today's video. I pray that you guys are all well and that you enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.